What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the show. We're tackling Zombieland Double Tap, which I feel very bad that I have waited this long to watch this movie, Adam. I mean, it came out quite a while ago now that we're looking at it. I mean, wasn't that a 2019 release? Yeah, 2019, October 2019. There's no reason I should have watched this movie, but I'm finally here to watch it, and I'm so glad that I had a chance to finally sit down and watch this movie because it was really, really great. And Adam, one thing I really love about the Zombieland, I guess you'd say franchise now, is just it is such a great mix of comedy and zombie horror.
Yeah, I agree. Just I'm with you too. Just saw it for the first time. Wasn't disappointed, and yeah, it's funny. It's got zombies in it, and anybody who likes any mix of those two things, I'd recommend it to for sure. We'll talk more about why.
That's for sure. So you have it from the first movie, and that's another thing that really worked great for the second film is it's following the same great characters that we had from the first. And when you look at the group, that we have Columbus and Tallahassee, and we also have Little Wichita, and then Little Rock. All great characters, all great actors. I mean, Woody Harrelson, when that dude gets riled up and just starts cursing like crazy, I don't think I've ever laughed so hard at somebody just getting pissed off and just cursing the hell out of what's going on. I mean, he's just amazing. It is amazing.
Yeah, no, he's got a fiery temper, but like you said, it's not scary. It's downright comical, and I think it's because on some level, like A, it's over the top, but B, like I'm pretty sure I've met somebody who's like exactly like that, so it's completely feasible.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, he doesn't take. I mean, when it comes to Jesse Eisenberg's character Columbus, and he's just so anal about everything, which is great because in this
Right.
movie, like he's maybe relaxed in some ways. You can tell he's tried to fit in as much as he can and not be too anal about all his rules. All 73 of them, I think he has by the second movie. But but it's still he still gets on people's nerves. I mean, even Emma Watson's Wichita character, which she's great too. And there was definitely more of the same in this movie, that is for sure. But they still managed to spice it up just enough to keep things rocking. And I loved in the beginning, they kind of just get right into it. They talk about how they've been surviving, but how zombies have evolved, which I'm like, okay, let's learn some more. And I love Jesse Eisenberg's commentary as he kind of just lays it out. And the names they came up with them, they have the stupid zombie, which is kind of like the one that just does whatever, and they call him the Homer, from The
Yeah.
Simpsons. And then let's see. Then they had the smart one, or at least the one that can
The
think a little bit,
Hawking.
the Hawking. And he goes, as in Steven. I mean, it's great because it helps anybody who's not on board. Like they don't just immediately make you assume like you should know what they're talking about. They help lay it all out for you.
Right,
And
and it's supposedly been what, about 10 years. I think they're going time frame. Like the
yeah,
distance between the movies is the distance for the characters, and so
yeah.
they're letting you know like, hey, some things have happened since we last filmed, and yeah, now we have different styles of zombies. I totally agree.
I mean, and the commentary even from the beginning, he goes, and thanks for coming back too. You have so
Right, I love that.
because I mean it is a really good point because the zombie market is super saturated, right? You have all the
Right.
high end productions, you got small productions like we do with Dead Nightmare. I mean, it's just everywhere. So it's kind of funny that I'm really surprised actually that critics and even fans alone gave this movie such a decent rating because on other films, and I was just watching one the other day, and we may look at it sometime. It's called The Last Days on Mars, and it's kind of like zombies on Mars, but it's very tastefully done. It's very well done, but it has like a 5.5. And I was reading some of the Metacritic and some of the other reviews on it, and they were just pissy because yeah, it's just the same story. It's just zombies in space. I'm like, well, yeah, but we have this over here that's just zombies again in Zombieland 2, except it had comedy and horror. Why such the big gap? And anyways, the viewers were very divided on that score. But now when it came to the Double Tap, I mean, it's pretty much scored right up there with the first one, and that's really cool.
Yeah, and I think the first one may have scored slightly better, but they were both really well received. I will say the thing that I really liked about this one is I liked that it didn't try to take itself too seriously, and that may have been part of why, like because the first one had kind of a halfway serious plot,
Yes.
which I think is part of what people liked about it. But I actually like the fact that in the second one, even the main plot was viewed as almost slightly ridiculous, even though relatable. Like, like Little Rock runs off with a boy. I mean, that makes sense. But like
Hmm.
Tallahassee's reaction to it, I mean, like, there's just so much stuff that happens that's over the top. I honestly think that when a movie's designed to be a comedy, like if it invest too much in the central plot, it can almost spoil the humor. And so,
That's true.
not to say that having a good central plot is bad for a comedy, but I do like that this just focused on being funny.
It is true, and it's hard sometimes because when you're trying to add in those serious factors and real high tension. And in this movie, it didn't seem that the zombies were too much of a threat, at least until really later on in the movie. And so we'll stop with the non spoilers and just kind of talk some of the other really great events that happened during this film and what really just made it awesomely likable. So again, like you mentioned, Little Rock, she has now split herself. She pulls the whole whammy, even on her sister, and pretty much pieces out. So first, what had we have Columbus, who ends up proposing pretty much to Wichita, and she's like, "Whoa,
Yeah.
whoa, whoa! I'm not down with this." And so she's starting to freak out. She sees her sisters getting really upset because there's no one for her to interact with. So they straight up peace out. They take Woody Harrelson's car, the Beast, and I was just loving when him and Little Rock were working on it, and she's like, "We need to find you somebody." He goes, "Nope, any bit of compassion and love in me is stopping right here with the Beast." I mean, this dude is just ridiculous, and so anyways, so she ends up leaving. They come across this guy named Berkeley, who's a total musician, weed smoking, just totally chilled out pacifist, mind you, and I'm telling you, Tallahassee, Woody Harrelson, just hats off to you, man. And his performance when he finds out that he's a pacifist or whatever, I mean, he just starts losing his shit so bad. He wants to he goes, I want to kill this man.
He's got kind of the overprotective father thing and just like turns it up to 11, but it's
11, 12.
perfect because it feels like that's something that character would do. Like the fact that he gets so mad about it, like it's funny because you're like, it feels about right. It feels like a guy like that, if his daughter ran off with a pacifist, would just go ape shit. And that's exactly what Tallahassee does. It's hysterical.
And not only do we have our standard four from the previous one, now we get to add in this Berkeley guy, which he kind of plays in and then they kind of go away. But another huge player in the mix, Adam, and I'll let you kind of go on a little bit, is the cute and adorable, but yet not so bright blonde Madison.
When Wichita splits with Little Rock after Columbus proposes to her, I mean Tallahassee's bummed because Little Rock was basically his daughter figure.
Yeah.
Columbus is bummed because Wichita is he wanted to propose to her. Now she's gone, so they're just strolling about this mall. And they find Madison, like Columbus is sniffing candles because he hates the smell of the post-apocalyptic world. And this blonde girl just shows up and starts talking to him. And at first he freaks out because he thinks she's a zombie, and she is like the stereotypical blonde. I mean,
Yeah.
just like, hey, how's it going? Got wearing all pink, just excited to see somebody. She's been hiding in a freezer the whole time, which is why zombies haven't gotten to her. And she just decides to Columbus's delight and Tallahassee's disappointment, she's going to tag along with them. It's crazy.
And I'm just a tag on that typical blonde. It's like the Valley Girl blonde. I mean,
Yeah.
she's got like the little attitude, but she's still cute enough and unfortunately dumb enough to where, I mean, she really is adorable. And it's funny because at one point when Wichita finally comes back to get some weapons and stuff because she wants to go rescue her sister because she thinks she might be in trouble. Since basically the only thing that Berkeley can defend her sister with is a guitar. She comes downstairs because she ends up sleeping with Jesse Eisenberg's character like almost immediately because she's pretty much just been horny this entire time, hasn't had any male interaction, and she's just totally digging him. And she comes down, she's like, "Hey, you coming to bed?" And when frickin' Wichita turns around and she sees her, he's like, "Wow, you rebounded quickly." And he's like, "Yeah, well, you left me cold-heartedly, so thanks." And
Right.
and they were hanging out out of all places, which is a really great idea actually. Surprised nobody else was in there. Was the White House. This is where they were basically keeping refuge and staying very, very safe. And it was kind of cool them seeing. I mean, I don't know how they did the set designs and whatnot, but they did a great job. But this Madison, as she goes on the tour and stuff, her comments, and she comes in, and Woody Harrelson's like, "We got to ditch this girl. She's not the right material for you or the group." And she's like, "Oh my God, this is the Oval Office. Why do they call it that?" I mean, this is just one of multiple things she said, and especially, and then as things heighten up or whatever, Adam, the car scene when they're driving, and every time they get back, she's like, "Oh my God, we're back on the road, yay!" So she's all cute or whatever, and so she's sitting there and she's eating some kind of trail mix or whatever. She goes, "I had an idea for a business." She goes, "It's where strangers let strangers pick them up and drive them around or something." And of course they start making fun of her because they're like, "Oh, that sounds great," and then I kill you because I don't know you and I'm a stranger. And it's just that her premises and her ideas are so off the wall insane. The writing for this movie was amazing.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is that's like a spoof of Uber, basically, right? And
Right.
what she's
Yeah.
talking about. So, and like the way she presents it, it does sound completely ridiculous. And then you're thinking, pretty much do
We do
that.
that now, but not to go through the entire film. I mean, the characters were great. The original four, great. The new Madison character, great. And then there's some interesting twists and things that happen even around her, which is great because like you brought up, Adam, like the movie doesn't take itself too seriously. Like even though at times, even some of the parts where normally you think, "Oh, Schilling's gonna probably call this out as a." Like, oh, that wouldn't have happened or this or that. I was just kind of enjoying. I was enjoying it so much. I didn't
Yeah.
care.
That's where I was too.
And also, let's not forget about a few other new characters. So, as they're on their journey, they had mentioned to Little Rock at one point that they wanted to go to Graceland. So that's where they think she's on her way to with Berkeley. And, of course, just like the infatuation that Woody Harrelson had with Bill Murray in the first film, he also has a huge musical fascination with the King, as in Elvis Presley.
Yep. And so he wants to go to Graceland not just because of Little Rock, but because he just like he even has a story. He meets a character later in the movie and he talks about why Elvis was so big for him, and it goes beyond the music. And so yeah, they get there and they're looking forward to reuniting with Little Rock, and like the Graceland mansion is just completely, it's been overrun by vegetation. And
Burnt down, I think,
Tallahassee,
too. Yeah.
yeah, like Tallahassee's pissed off because A, Little Rock's not there, and B, Elvis's house has been just completely destroyed by nature. Hates it.
His reactions were amazing, and they find this kind of one-off dive place, which was all lit up like crazy, or whatever, and it basically had a great set of replica locations that was in like the actual Graceland mansion and everything like that, like the jungle room and some of the other fun things. And we find out that Rosario Dawson, she's an amazing actress, love her. She's also playing Ahsoka Tano on the new Mandalorian season 2 show, which that's really cool. And she might even get another spinoff, I'm hearing. But anywho's, so she's running this place, and she seemed like really upset when Woody Harrelson was in there playing the piano and kind of singing to Elvis or whatever. But I'm like, you only have like a huge bright ass sign outside your little mini hotel place. I mean, do you think nobody sees this and aren't going to be like, "Huh, I should go in here"? But anyways, she quickly starts making friendships with the new. With our original crew, and then we meet a couple of new characters, which we have to spend a few moments to talk about. And just to not forget their names, it was Albuquerque, played by Luke Wilson, and then Flagstaff, who's played by Thomas. Is it Middleditch? Which I know he's a comedian that's been in a lot of flicks or whatever. But anyways, these two are like an exact replica set of Columbus and Tallahassee.
Yeah, and it's like to the point where Albuquerque drives basically this Bigfoot equivalent, this monster truck, to match Tallahassee's, basically, I don't know what they call it in the
Well, I guess his awesome choice vehicles, right? I mean, they had everything
right.
from the Hummer, which was awesome in the first one. This new one was kind of like a stretched, not like a limo, but it had some extra space and it had a freaking minigun on top of it. I mean, it was his baby. He had all his gear
Right.
on there, and this dude pulls in with his freaking Bigfoot vehicle and just parks it right on top of his car. They get into it for a moment, and anyways, as we get along with it, just the interactions between these two new guys and seeing that they're almost a spin image of our original two, and the fact that Emma Stone's character calls it out kind of like, do you see a resemblance here? You know, kind of like, because Jesse Eisenberg's match character, which is Flagstaff, he has his commandments, which are
Right.
his book of rules. And they even get into kind of like a showdown about which ones are popular, you know, which are the good ones, which ones aren't. And anyways, very entertaining. I was loving the little pieces they were adding in here just to give us a little more edge and not just be another Zombieland from the first movie.
Yeah, and the thing that I appreciated about all the little side arcs, whether we're talking Madison, whether we're talking, whether we're talking Albuquerque and Flagstaff, is that every side arc they did was funny. And certainly when they introduced it, some of them, I think if there was one drawback, I think the side arcs a lot of times stayed around longer than they were funny. But to me, they were funny enough that most, if not all of them, were worth it. So like not perfect, no, but still funny, still added to it. So, and that's what I appreciated about all of them.
Yeah, and the zombie action, when there were the zombie attacks or whatever, they handled them with a lot of ease, I think, throughout the movie, but they looked great. The zombies looked nasty as hell. The gunshot wounds, explosion wounds, stab wounds, whatever it was, all looked phenomenal. The blood was nice and dark and nasty. I mean, it felt right. It felt right for the aging and just where they were in the film. And like you said, the humor never really stopped. And then, like I said, if it did kind of linger on in certain scenes, they just kept adding. Either Madison was saying another stupid thing out of her mouth, or Albuquerque and the new guy Flagstaff were going on about something, or then there's a twist even there too, which you would know if you saw the movie. They end up becoming zombies themselves because they got bit, and I mean it was just enough of stuff that you didn't see it in the first one, which made it amazing in the second. And I was kind of thinking to myself, could they do a third? Because even at the end of the film, he says, "Well, this is us signing off until next time," and they leave it open, right? I mean, there could be, or they may just let it be. But, the movie made money. And so you have to kind of wonder, would they even try to attempt a third?
It's hard to say because the one thing I will say is that, they really doubled down on the comedy aspect this time, I think. I think not that the first one was a serious movie, but I actually think it was more serious than the second one.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of I kind of wonder what you would do differently to come up with an excuse to bring him back. Like I said, I really liked the second one. I might have even liked it slightly better than the first, just because I think it was a little funnier.
Yes.
But I don't know how you follow it up.
And to keep I believe that if the screenwriters can keep the humor coming at the rate that they were doing in this second one, as well as they did in the first one, in fact, like you said, more even in the second one, if you're going to make those same characters, now it's getting tougher because like you have all these reoccurring characters coming back and none of them are dying off. And it's like, it's not that they have to die, but let's face it, that's going to change the mood tremendously. And in some sense, there may not be enough humor to bring you back in, and be like, oh, this is still a funny movie, but damn, we just saw these two get killed off a little bit ago. I'm not sure how I feel about that. So maybe if they started with a new crew of people, but then are people going to reject it because they're like, oh, this is just four new people in a different setting? But it's hard to say. It would be a gamble. I know as an investor, I'd have to really be convinced. I'd have to see that story.
Yeah, I'm with you too. And like one of the things I actually appreciated about this is so many horror flicks, not all of them, but so many horror flicks rely on the incompetence of their protagonists to tell a story. And what I really liked about this one is these protagonists weren't perfect. Columbus is a little anal. Tallahassee is got a temper. Wichita has attachment issues. Little Rock wants something to belong to other than people far older than her.
Right.
So it's like they're not perfect, but like when it comes to zombies, like they got their shit down. They know how to handle it.
Right.
And so I think that's part of why it doesn't bother you is because you're like, you know what? That makes sense. It makes sense that they just have a system down and they just handle it. I mean, that's how they survived this long.
Right.
But, at what point does watching people who have a handle on the apocalypse take out zombies get old? And it's not Zombieland 2 because this was good.
Yep.
But I think you're right that sooner or later that gets old.
They had some great toppings, and they even revisit a few things like zombie kill of the week. Instead, it was they knocked it up a couple notches actually, first into zombie kill of the year, and then by the end it's zombie kill of like since the apocalypse, which
Yeah, this is the century, I think they
Oh, was it
called
the
it.
century? Nice, nice,
Yeah.
nice. And which was pretty epic too. I mean, them leading the zombies up to the top of that building, and then because they were so stupid to follow them down the way. Again, a little over the top, of course, but just enough action and fun times so that, and even putting Tallahassee on the block because in the first movie, remember at the end, he was kind of on the block because he was stuck in that little cotton candy style, like little shop or whatever, in Pacific Playland or whatever the hell it was called, and he's fighting off all the zombies from inside, and he almost could have gotten it, but he was badass enough and he worked it out, and I was really glad they didn't kill him off. Just like at the end here, he tries to pull this off, and even Jesse Eisenberg's commentary sounds like, this man sacrifices everything, and you're like, oh no, is something bad gonna happen? But again, he
Right.
ends up pulling it off. But yeah, I think it would be very wise for them to probably, I would either chill with this crew and just let it end on a great note, and then maybe give it a spin and twist and send it off another direction for maybe some new characters or some new life. I mean, these characters all had great chemistry, right?
Yeah.
I mean, even the scenes when they're in the car, and they're driving or whatever,
Right.
and Madison's falling asleep, and she's like, "Hey, hey, hey, hey," and she goes, "Hey, hey, hey," what I mean? Just a messing with each other. I could just see the cameras rolling, and they're probably just like, "Okay, just you're traveling, just
Right.
do some ad libs, get funny, get crazy," because I think that's when things get really really fun. In fact, I'm going to do some trivia on Ghostbusters. I heard that almost every single scene with Bill Murray was ad libbed. Like
I
he
believe it.
he was coming up with just lines all over the place, and that is really difficult when you're trying to work with somebody else because you're like, what is going to come out of their mouth, and am I going to be able to keep my stuff together to make sure that I don't lose it and ruin the shot?
Well, and honestly, if you have a talented actor or a group of actors, why
Yeah,
not just let them go? I mean, like, if
yeah.
they can handle it. I mean, not everybody does improv well, but really, when you got someone that can do it, let them do it.
Yeah, I have a feeling that they definitely did some in this movie, as well as following to the script as well. And just on a couple of side little fun notes, so this had a budget of about 42 million, and it looks like it pulled in from U.S. gross USA 73. So that probably took care of all the production costs and paying everything out, and also taking it to market, with advertising, and then cumulative worldwide 120, almost $3 million. So they definitely made some money back. I don't think it was as near as much as the first, but they still worked it out. So hey, there could be a Zombieland 3. They haven't mentioned anything about it yet, and there were some years even between the first one and this one, so it could be a while. And you know what? I think that also might be a smart move on their part, Adam. When I think about it, because that way they're not just like throwing it in your face, like, oh look, another Zombieland, oh another Zombieland. Kind of like Disney, what they're doing with Star Wars. I mean,
Yeah.
luckily they're creating some okay Star Wars stuff now with Mandalorian and some other ideas. But for a while there, we were just kind of like, hey, can you back it down just a notch?
Right.
It's a little
Like
much.
it, like you can almost tell they were just trying too hard, kind of thing.
Well, yeah, and totally just milking the franchise for what it is. I mean, I get it. You want to make money. Okay, that's fine. But
Right.
at least give us great content if you're going to do that. I mean, think about it. You're the richest production company pretty much out there, and you're gonna race and put out subpar content. That makes no sense. I know I'm getting on a side rant here, but I just had to say it. I had to say it.
No, I get you. No, I think they found a formula that works for them with
Yeah.
Zombieland. I think
Yeah.
I'm actually hoping they stop it too. I was not disappointed to hear they were coming out with a second one. I saw it. I was not disappointed in the result. I don't know how you top it. I'd say just go out on a high note if it's
Sure.
me.
So to give my rating for this movie, I'm going to toss this one a 7.5. I really thought it was a lot of fun. It was funny, the graphics and everything. And with my zombie loving self, I almost inch it up to an 8 just because the zombies look really wonderful in this one, and I love the style also of the movie. Everything from the start of the movie with the Columbia, she's holding her torch or whatever, and the two
Oh
and the
gosh.
twos, I mean, that right there set the tone for me, and I should have mentioned that earlier.
Yeah.
But the two zombies start running up towards the Columbia woman, and she freaking knocks the one down, and then upward
Yeah.
comes, and then she kind of goes back to her little pose, and I was just like, "That's great." I mean, the style of this movie, I love what they do, and you know what? Hell with it. For that, I am going to give this movie an 8 because I love zombies, and this was a great movie. So I'm giving it an 8. That's my score.
I'm gonna stay at 7.5. So I'm with you though. I think it's a great movie. I actually liked it slightly better than the first one. Two things I'll say. I'll say if you're looking for a serious film, you're gonna be disappointed. But I will say They do the zombies well. It makes sense that the characters can take them out. And quite frankly, it's funny. I enjoyed myself. I had a good time. So yeah, 7.5. I definitely go higher sooner than lower, but I'm gonna stay at 7.5.
That's a good score right there. So we hope you guys enjoyed this talk over Zombieland. We'll be picking out new content for you, of course, every Wednesday. So make sure to come back out and visit us. Hopefully, sometime this year, we're going to get some short film stuff out. I have a lot of great ideas. Just kind of need to get it written down on paper and also get some availability to shoot this thing with COVID going on. So with the vaccine coming, I think hopefully we'll see some light at the end of the tunnel here. So be looking back, come out, like and subscribe if you're enjoying the content, and come visit us again. And we'll see you guys at the next review.
See you next time.